Hey, how's it going? I am going to read some cards for you. And I'm just going to say I'm not prepared. Why do I need to be prepared? I don't know. Let's see how it goes. So anyway, I pulled one from the Shaman's Dream Oracle deck. Oh, number 49, Skywriting. Well, almost jumped out of my hand. Here, I need to show you the signs, actually, before I get rolling. Okay, so, number 49, Skywriting, and the subtitle is The Fates. And I'm just gonna first read from the guidebook. The fates that which we cannot change, the fates, comma, that which we cannot change, comma, non-judgment. Wow. I'm already having some difficulty. Well, I'm not having difficulty, but I think I'm seeing where this is going. And I just think, wow, non-judgment. That's something that people have to work on. Not saying that I'm not a people as well. Just saying. So, anyway. I can't really see. Let me see if I can get it a little bit brighter without having to turn on another light. Oh, good, that works. I don't like the bright lights. They're like bothering me. Anyway, it is written in the sky that you have a destiny. You are being invited to explore certain aspects of life unique to you and you alone. That does not mean that your path will be easy, paved with gold and littered with diamonds. Nor does this predict that your journey will be treacherous. It is just your path, with parts that cannot be changed and must be radically accepted as they are. You know, just to interrupt here, about the radically accepting your path as it is. If you, like me, give credibility to the idea that before you're born, you plan out with many other individuals that are part of your soul family, in the jargon of the woo-woo, then you know that even though you have forgotten it, you on some level are aware, and I'm talking like you know this. So you're kind of breaking through the amnesia that we give ourselves at birth, so we get to go through stuff that triggers the memory of this sort of predetermination that we made before we were born. So, you know, like something comes along and it's like, whoa, I didn't sign up for this. This is really hard. I don't, you know, what is it? What did it say in here? It doesn't mean, even though you planned it out, and probably especially because you know what you're doing, what you are signing up for, and what you're going to be in for rather, you know that your path, it doesn't mean that your path is going to be easy. Probably it won't, because that makes it interesting. Paved with gold and littered with diamonds. Well, some people have that life, but didn't Gloria Vanderbilt have wasn't she like fabulously rich and her life was just miserable? Because of all that money. Okay, what am I doing? Come back here. So back to it. Nor does this predict that your journey will be treacherous. It's just your path, with parts that cannot be changed and must be radically accepted as they are. So that's been my lesson lately. Accepting things and let me just say that my problem I've been talking about is resolved. It's all good. I'm totally happy. Yay. But getting to that point was like a bumpy. Had to go through some stuff, had to make moves and find out like, woo, that works, and oh man, that really didn't, and then go forward from there until there was a resolution that I could like live with finally. That let me just, release a sigh of relief, like release some tension. And I think that's part of the roller coaster of choosing, these predetermined paths for ourselves, where the difficulties are more interesting. And when you're in it, like I said, and you even know it's still hard to just be all, this is what I asked for, and it's all like, this is so messed up, but woo, like, yay. It is. I'm not there yet. It takes me a minute to get there to where I'm like, okay, I've exhausted every emotion that I'm gonna go through, or attempt to repair, whatever is happening, like damage, or whatever the situation is. Because there's just a kaleidoscope of things that could happen, and so many other sort of exterior stimuli that can affect things, affect you, and change your mind and change the whole course. And it's just like all this madness to try and think about. But yeah, like when you're in the middle of it, I don't know, panic ensues, uncertainty, then you just, that triggers a whole bunch of other stuff. It's hard to bat it all out of the way and be focused on, this is happening. This is what I can do. This is what I can't do. Why don't I just, like, let the day pass and quit breaking my brain? Like, it's just hard to step aside, step out of it, so that you can not interfere with the processes of whatever you have chosen to take place. And in my case, I already felt like I knew it was not irreparable, but the options were daunting. So I felt like I really had to make some decisions, and when I saw that there was little I could do with my decisions, it was funny, like, okay, I give up. I guess whatever happens, happens. And then everything changed. It's just the way it works. So, I don't know if that makes sense to this. I hope it did. In this way, after you radically accept stuff, in this way, whatever you're faced with, every single aspect of your life is perfect in its imperfection. Not good or bad. Well, we've got opinions, haven't we? Neither inflow or blocked. Oh, neither inflow nor blocked, to be grammatically correct. It's harder to adhere to than it seems like, because when you're in it, it's just all groovy and easy and breezy, and something from reality always comes along to like drop a turd in the punch bowl or something. But that's the fun part. Well, after the fact it is. I was gonna say if things don't go totally terrible, but things for me haven't ever, so there's some wood I'm just gonna knock on, hoping that I don't incur that type of situation. Like, stay focused, stay on the path, read the guidebook. Not good nor bad, or bad. Not good or bad, neither inflow nor blocked. This nor that. See your life as a series of opportunities rather than an obstacle course. Well, I think once you make yourself aware of it, remember it, however you would like to describe that particular process, it's like learning anything else. You haven't quite got the hang of it right when you start, unless you're just, one of those people that's good at stuff right at the start. And you have to learn and make mistakes and gradually, gain skill, like get good at it. Now I'm spitting. So, yeah, that. Once you master the skill of non-judgment, you open the power to curiosity unencumbered by the burdens of yesterday's fear as you look ahead into the potential of the future. Once you master the skill of non-judgment, I'm hearing that you have to stop judging yourself first until you get the hang of it, I guess. Until you get that skill under your belt. Get that non-judgment badge for your person sash. Your person scout sash. Where did I finish? Oh, yes, you still need to be brave. Right now, you are facing a crucial moment in time with an opportunity to meet your fate. A choice point where you expand your influence and your capacity for abundance, love, and purposeful action. Yes, you still need to be brave. Yeah, even if you know it's all going to work out and all of the plan and the forgetting and the remembering and the pre-birth plan, even if you know all of that, like I was saying, you still need to be brave because you find yourself in, when I say you, I mean me, when you find yourself in the midst of a maelstrom of all of the emotions and stuff that if you forget to stay focused and what the reality of the situation is and you get all triggered and caught up in all of that and impede your path and your thinking, as I said, you like make yourself a fearful situation that you have to like bust out your brave to deal with, and you actually don't even really need to go there. I mean, maybe you do, me, because you have to like go through those emotions to experience something. That also makes sense. But yeah, I think the non-judgment has to start like with yourself, because boy, are we judgmental as people, as humans. It is hard not to like look at someone and have some thoughts for me. And anyway, not to get totally sidetracked, right now you are facing a critical moment in time. I know I already read this, so I'm just going to go over it again. With an opportunity to meet your fate. A choice point, oh maybe I didn't, where you expand your influence and your capacity for abundance, love, and purposeful action. Put the oxygen mask on yourself first. Now is the moment to leap into it, whether it is a heart connection, a call to creativity, or a new identity in your work or other area of life, with all of your heart and soul. Your access is surely written in the stars. Your success is surely written in the stars, but probably the other thing too. Just gotta read them, learn how to read them, or find someone that can and get the answers from there. In order to bring your destiny to fruition, you must jump into the adventure with both feet and do your part. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I said anything too far afield of what was there. And so, I'm just gonna give people a look at that. You know, well, I've never really noticed that before. I have said this is maybe an angel, and it still looks very much like a snowy owl, kind of, but this time, what I see is the strangest thing. It's some sort of humanoid form. Could be some sort of angel, because here and here, especially if I'm pulled back, it does look like it could be wings. But what I just noticed that is so bizarre is that this dark oval area, which would be the face, on top it, light, there seems to be a brim, a circle of a brim, and then a crown, like a dang park ranger hat. Look at that. Do you see that? So, also, an arm. I just saw The Flash with Ezra Miller, the movie, and he did a pose a few times before he started running, and it was like, oh, you're not going to be able to see me because it's not big enough. So, but he would take this, like, on your mark pose, like he was like gonna run a race, but he would have like one arm way up behind him and the other like this. See, the frame is not big enough for me to demonstrate, but here, that kind of looks like what this guy is doing. If you hold on to the face and the hat, you can see like there's the arm here going forward and the other one thrown back. Where are the legs? Well, there's not really legs. There's just like a torso, and it turns into what, like a sky merman? I don't know. You know how clouds. You know how clouds are. If you watch them, if you look at them and like maintain your gaze consistently, you'll start out with a shape, and then right before your very eyes, it's going to transform into something else. So it also reminds me in that way of clouds. But something else I also noticed just now was this purpley glow that's almost like, because this wing is in contact with that planet back there, but that is not right, because the perspective is just wrong for that, unless this guy is just enormous. But I don't think that's what that is. It could be some sort of light reflection, or I don't know. It's striking. I don't know what it means. And dang it, I'm bad. There's runes on here, right? There's Nordic runes, and I have studied those in the past, but I like to use the rune stones. I have some, and I have like a slight knowledge of like how to read them and like how they came to be. And I know there's like a couple of types of ways to read the stones. It's like a historical thing attached to each way or something. But well, anyway, I don't have a booklet. The way that I have to do it is to like roll the stone or throw the stones and then go online and look it up. And it just feels, I need a book. I don't like doing it that way. So it kind of drives me nuts that there are definitely runes on here. Right there, right there, right there. And I want to read them, but I'm not, because I don't have, like, especially right now, I only have this one device. I don't have access to my laptop right now, so I can't like go back and forth and easily check stuff. So I don't know why I'm telling you all of that. I'm sure it's like, why am I trying to put it away? You're not done yet? What am I doing? So anyway, I'm going to put this aside for the moment. You know, like I'll maybe probably come back to it. But I want to talk now about the other card I pulled, which is from the Wild Unknown, whoops, the Wild Upside Down, the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit deck. And, I pulled Crocodile. So, well, I mean, a lot of things come to mind for me with the crocodile, or it did today. But the first thing I went for was, I know they're symbolic to a lot of cultures, and I pretty much, first thing I thought of was Egypt. So, I just want to show you this guy. But when I looked up the spiritual significance of the crocodile, it said that they are known to be spiritual guides, and they represent protection, inner strength and power, the ability to overcome obstacles. And I don't know what I read that made me add this, but it's they have the ability to overcome obstacles by going deep below the surface, which, you know, translates to me as go inside as a human, you know, to figure out things on the outside of you first, like I was talking about earlier. But you go deep and you look within. Like, I feel like going deep and looking within basically mean the same thing. If I didn't get that point across already, now that I've killed it to death. Yeah. So in Egypt, they they represent new life. The deity that was the crocodile god, it was called Sobek, Sobek, and it was the god of fertility and military protection, which seemed like they kind of canceled each other out. But in a way, that's a very ancient dynamic that still exists. Like the abortion battle / debate that goes on in the United States of Northern America, or North America. Some people are dead set against it, and they are people that, some of them don't even have the parts on their physical person to have the procedure. They are peripherally involved. Sometimes they may not be attached to a childbearing person as a mate, and therefore someone with a right to say anything at all. They're just out there saying, this doesn't apply to me, but I don't think that you, the stranger I have no interaction with at all, as well as with this rhetorical person I'm dreaming up, me having no female woman person in my life, but I'm gonna opine very loudly and take a right away from you that I don't even really understand the motivations. And I feel like that's kind of like the character of the battle about the abortion thing. And then there's also the hypocrisy of a lot of people that will still partake of the procedure regardless of the law, because they have the resources to circumvent it. And yet, it's still some people out there that have influence over politics, and particularly this issue, they want to make sure everybody else has no right to it, but they're just going to go ahead anyway and do it. That stinks, man. Why do you think people should listen to you? You're terrible. Okay, how did I get way over there? Oh, there's a word and it's escaping me as usual, but it was like the clash between the military, the military and the fertility. It's it gets said all the time here. They only care about your unborn child. They don't care about that child one bit after they're born, particularly if they're a minority. It's like, as soon as they're not an infant, like black boy children or girl children, I guess, are seen as so scary and dangerous. And it's like, they're just drooling, toothless, fumble-fingered babies. And people are freaking out because they're going to grow up into adults. Why would that be scary? I don't know. They might grow up to be adults that say, hey, man, you've been trying to, like, slaughter people like me. And yet, when, like, the potential parent decides, for whatever their reason is, that's nobody else's business, that they don't care to, give birth to a child at that time. It's just, it's such a turmoil of ridiculous, it's like, how can you take the side that's against it seriously when they then go ahead and do it behind your back, in front of your face, kind of thing? And yet they are like, you cannot kill your baby, but when your baby is alive, it's going to have the hardest life possible, and I'm not going to help at all. In fact, I'm against that child already. See what I'm saying? And it just escalates the older the child gets, because then they become an adult. And I don't know why they don't think of this. It's in, like, a lot of mob movies. But those children that grow up that don't, end up being terminated by the procedure could grow up and go, you know what, I really don't think that all these people should have the right to be opening up their mouth about my people in my substrata of society from this other element that's so controlling. I think I want to get them the hell out. Like, in the mob movies that I was saying, or like, well, here, let me give you the scenario. It could be in any movie, but say there's a family and they're in a violent war with another family, and everyone gets slaughtered except for an infant. It would have been like when I was growing up, because I'm like on the cusp of boomer and Gen X. It could be like, it would be a man child, it would be a boy child, but it could be a girl in, like, I can't think of the name right now. Well, anyway, don't get even more sidetracked. They slaughtered the whole family, and yeah, like, there's an infant boy child, right, that's left, and they're like, oh, whatever. They don't kill it. Like, oh, it's an infant, what can it do? It can grow up and learn about what happened and turn that back onto the offending, murdering family in the first place. I feel like it's that kind of dynamic with the abortion thing. Like, they have this ridiculous talking point about late-term abortion, even after birth, and it's like, that's not even that same procedure anymore. You're talking about removing fetal cells and likening them to a fully formed child, actual child. We are a strange society, I have to say. I saw something earlier about schools, and it's not news. The debate's been going on for many years, but it was about charter schools, and it was a Texas politician campaigning for the right of public schools to exist, because they're trying to, they being the voucher people, like the voucher education people, they want vouchers to take money from public school funding, which is already suffering everywhere. That's also not news. And then the vouchers end up subsidizing private schools, which are attended by rich kids that don't need to go to public school, and they spend so much time putting down public school and then taking away from it so much to, like, fulfill their is to make a self-fulfilling prophecy about it. Like, it's bad, it's terrible, and then take away funding, and then try and, like, on the sly, I guess, slide in this voucher thing and pretend like it's something it isn't. The thing this guy was saying in Texas, and I bet it's true in a whole lot of other places too, there are not enough private schools for people to attend. Forget about being able to afford it for the moment. There's not even enough of them if they eliminate public schools for all of the people to attend private schools. There are places where there are no private schools. And I don't know if you're familiar with Texas, but it's like a small Australia. It's huge. You know, if there's not a private school in your area, that could mean that thing is like 6 hours away. It's just absurd, because what is the motivation behind doing that? I mean, it's terrible for the public schools. It's just going to make it harder for people that are not well off, that can't just keep going and educating and feeding and clothing and housing and taking care of all the necessities for your child and your family. You know, the wealth disparity is like a killer these days. And then this other element of society that wants to control everything is making it so hard for other people. So, like, that voucher thing with the schools is ridiculous. And I didn't know this, but it makes the whole, like, I knew the voucher thing was just, something was wrong with it. And I didn't know specifically what it was, except for it wanted to eliminate people, like public school, wanted to get rid of it, which is not good, because of the reasons I stated for people that can't afford the private school. But I didn't know about that part where it was taking the money from public schools to pay for these vouchers, which then the money ends up going to the private schools. And I don't know what happens in the cases where there's no private school. It's probably not allowed to go to the public schools which are there, which a lot of people actually really want. It probably someone's pocket or bank account, you know, that's probably where it ends up in that case. So, whoa, I really went far away from whatever I was trying to talk about. Sure doesn't have, I can't link it to anything crocodile at the moment. I guess I can. Speaking of below the surface, out of sight, you don't know what's going on with those people. Or they try to make it so that you can't know. So I'm glad that he was was he a politician or a teacher? I think he was a teacher. I'll see if I can find it and I'll put it in the notes. The info box. Texas voucher guy. But so, like, that was below the surface for me. Of course, I don't have a child, and I really don't have a whole lot of reason to know those details, except for the way I find them is looking at news or whatever. But there was something I saw, I think maybe Obama, he was either still president or it was like right after he wasn't president anymore. Oh yeah, you know what, I think it was after, because it has to do with Betsy DeVos, who was Trump's Secretary of Education for however long. Her family, her clique of rich, weird people that want to control the lives of people that don't have the resources to prevent them from doing it, is a huge voucher school proponent. And I wonder, like, what is she getting out of it, really? Because she's part of that clique that I mentioned, that rich as God, but just still constantly scrabbling for more money as if they're pauper mice. I don't understand the mentality. It makes my head hurt a little bit. It makes my stomach a little bit sick. So let's think about something else. But I saw a news report that showed the result. I think it was in Chicago, because Chicago is just like the breeding ground for terrible stuff, where they instituted a voucher program, took all these kids out of public school and put them in voucher schools, which years ago used to be like this great competitive prize, and your student was going to get the best education. Well, here it come to find out years later, I guess it like kind of deteriorated, but the schools that like Betsy DeVos was directly responsible for, that they took the kids that they had removed from public school and put into, were like places in strip malls run by people that were not certified to teach anybody, and the kids' educations got even worse. And so it's just this whole other reality from what they're presenting in the light, and then below the surface, like, you gotta, I guess, like, become another bottom feeder and wallow in the mud down there and see what's happening below the surface, and like look a little deeper than the surface, because there's things that don't make sense, that are kind of wrong, kind of hinky. I'm gonna quickly read from the guidebook for the crocodile. Resting, submerging, collecting energy, cooling off. The crocodile reminds us to step back from the eternal world and turn inward. Now's not the time for decisions, action, or discussion. The crocodile's mantra is wait. That doesn't mean lying around and hoping life's challenges will disappear. The crocodile is much smarter than that. It means intentionally withdrawing, gathering our awareness, observing and building energy. Fill up the vital reserves so your next move comes from a place of wisdom and power. Well, I'll tell you what, had I, school children, I would be glad to have learned, like, what I was just saying about the voucher school system. I think whatever I was looking at had been talking about the increase in homeschooling that was sort of started by the COVID epidemic, when the school just was not in session and people had to like homeschool their kids, and how a lot of it still is happening because after the fact of situations like this voucher mess. And also, where that's not the case, where the funding for schools and teachers and supplies and everything that's needed for those things, those matters, is low and deficit, so but it's good to know also, as not a parent, because I still care about the quality of the education of the people that are going to grow up and run the country that I'm going to be old and doddering in, and also them at some point. It's not always all about here and now. Sometimes you got to use it to project some, I don't know, putting away some acorns for the future of every type of acorn, all of the varieties. Wow, I have no idea how to sew these two together. I got so far from what I started out talking about. A couple of final words on these guys, though. They're in Florida too, and other places in the American South, but that's like the most famous place. They also have them in, they're not just like walking around in New Orleans, but they have them in Louisiana also. I would assume Georgia, Alabama, they're all like coastal, swampy. But I thought of two things, which was first Egypt, and then Florida. And in Egypt, they deified these creatures, and I don't know how they came to be, but they came to represent fertility and military, it says protection, so I'm not sure If that, I feel like that's kind of a misnomer, but I don't know, somehow emblematic of the military. Uh, so I would think that they were, I mean, they sound revered. They sound like maybe they were just allowed to wander around and do whatever. And I don't know what that would look like, but I'm thinking some unintended carnage occasionally took place, like an infant somebody didn't have their eye on for a moment, and was maybe crying or making sounds that, for a predator, that would mean like, oh, food. But they were gods, so I mean, think about the state of mind, and I'm just imagining that the baby thing. It wouldn't have to be like some kind of ancient thing. What about the dingo that took the woman's baby and no one believed her forever? Like, it could just happen anywhere. But I guess gods are fickle. They do stuff. But in Florida, it seems like the dynamic is different. I don't know that, I don't think they're as freaked out by the sight of a crocodile, or I think that's what they have in Florida, like strolling through your yard or something. But your small pets there do disappear. Like, a lot of snakes get released into the Everglades. If you live on the edges of someplace like that, I would not be letting my pet wander around outside the way I do now, I don't know what the attitude really of Floridians toward crocodiles are. I imagine it's somewhere in the neighborhood of tolerance and caution. Really, what are you going to do? Like, Fifth Amendment every crocodile in the swamp? You have to come to some sort of accord with living with wild creatures that are predators, and not to mention, what's the Sasquatch in Florida? The skunk ape? The swamp is freaky. Stuff happens in there. It's a different world. Okay, possibly right now, I'm thinking, because this has to do with the fates, which I didn't talk about briefly, the fates, the three sisters that sort of sew the fabric of reality into being, past, present, and future. Each sister was endowed with the ability to come that into being. To come that into being. So somehow I got stuck on education, and two places where a kind of ancient and, I don't know, dual natured being exists. It has in some societies, and in the past, some societies, deific qualities, and yet it was always a predator, like about the babies, right? And it's a part of life, actually, danger that you have to be on the lookout for, and just know that it could come up out of sight from nowhere and be a concern. And that's kind of the way it is in this country in a lot of ways, like politically, socially. There's so many human dynamics now that are just screwed up wacky, that need to, like, work through some kinks. And those are the fates. Those are the things right now kind of rising to the surface, and there's going to be more that we'll be finding out about, that there will be some resistance for some people to radically accept the situation. Like, your heroes are not who you think they are. the situation, like with the vouchers, is not what you think it is. And I think there's an analog for that in so many levels of society and life, probably everywhere, not just in the United States. I think that's it. Thank you and good night.